In all of the TV analysis of last night's debate, including my own analysis, I have yet to hear one word about which candidate was revealed to be the best possible future president of the United States. That's not the way we in the media usually analyze debates. We cover them like sporting events: winners, losers, home runs, strikeouts, zingers, knockout punches, the line of the night. We try to guess which candidates impress the TV audience the most, and we are always guessing about that, although we rarely label our statements as the pure guesses that they are. We evaluate debating skills, and that's the problem with debates, coverage of debates. Presidents don't debate. Presidents don't have to think on their feet. Presidents never have to make a decision alone without advisors who have much more experience on every subject than the president does. And so the debates do not test the skills necessary to do the job of president well. It's a job that you never get to see the president do, because the real work of the presidency is done behind the closed door of the Oval Office, or the closed door of the cabinet room, or the Situation Room, or on Air Force One. The real work of the presidency is making decisions after being sufficiently briefed on the subject by people who have been working on that subject for their entire careers and know the subject way better than the president ever will. The president doesn't have to sit there on his own trying to think of every relevant fact about a particular policy in 30 seconds. Never. That's not the job. I personally have seen only one president doing the job of the presidency. And that's because when Bill Clinton was president, I was the chief of staff of the Senate Finance Committee, and most of the president's agenda had to come through my committee. And so the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, and I were repeatedly in meetings with the president in the Oval Office with the door closed, and in the cabinet room with the door closed. And in those rooms, in every meeting I was in, the president of the United States had less to say than anyone else in the room. And in the meetings I was in, the president of the United States knew less about the subject than anyone else in the room. And Bill Clinton was as steeped in policy detail as any president we have ever had. President Clinton was better educated than most of the people in the room. He was probably smarter than most of the people in the room, but he was not more informed than most of the people in the room, because he was the president. The president has jurisdiction over all of the policy territory of the federal government, all of it, from domestic policy to foreign policy. And the experts in the room usually are only very highly informed about their subject, that one subject, taxation or national defense. In most presidential meetings, the president does not have to make a decision. He simply listens to what the policy experts have to say and what the congressional players have to say about how many votes the different policy approaches can get in the Senate and the House. And the president usually decides later, sometimes much later, after conferring with his own advisors about which policy approach to support. I actually saw President Clinton make governing decisions a few times, right there in the meeting, but that was very rare. And he took his time when he did that, when he made those decisions, sitting right there in the room with us. And there was no 60-second time limit on his decision-making. And so, if we want debates to more realistically show what a candidate might be like as president, there should be 10 people on the stage, but only 2 candidates. And each candidate should have 5 advisors on all the different policy arenas sitting right behind them, exactly the way all cabinet members do when they testify to Congress. And those advisors should be able to pass notes to the candidate the way they pass notes to cabinet members when they are testifying. And we should give the candidates the questions in advance so that we can get their best, most thoughtful answers, answers that they arrive at with the help of their advisors exactly the way they would responsibly do their job as president of the United States. Now, I know how heretical that sounds, but a few presidential elections ago, in a private conversation with a member of the Presidential Debate Commission who I knew, I very tentatively brought up what I thought would be the craziest idea he had ever heard, giving the candidates the questions in advance. And to my surprise and delight, he said he had recently decided that that was a good idea, even before I mentioned it to him. And that was because he knows what the job of the presidency actually is. But it's not going to happen. We're going to continue to have TV debates that serve the purposes of TV, especially commercial TV, rather than the interests of voters. And so your job as a voter, when you watch the debates, is to try to think beyond the soundbite and figure out what, if anything, in the debate actually matters in your choice of candidate. And don't be surprised if there is nothing in the debate that helps you make up your mind. Because the debates are not designed for you. The debates are not designed to enlighten us about who can best do the job of the presidency. Because the debates have absolutely nothing to do with the job of President of the United States. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.